I have always been propelled by one thing in particular when it comes to intellectual discourse that we're involved in right now. One thing. This has been my subject, my take from the beginning. It's gotten me into trouble. I've lost friends and family members even, but I don't care because it's who I am. And the only thing I've cared about, the only thing I've wanted to do is to be able to pursue intellectual discourse that is true. I want to be able to ask any question I want. I want to discuss anything. I want to be just never disrespectful, never mean, but I want to ask a question. And if the question is good enough to ask, then it's going to be asked. And whether it's politically incorrect, disfavorable, problematic, if it's xenophobic, transphobic, whatever phobic you want to get, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. That's my problem. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me whether my question offends you. I don't understand because I've never been offended by anything. It's certainly not a question or not a level of thought. How it's done is a different story. Certain things don't offend me. They may bother me. Loud noise, bad music, bad cologne, loud people. I'm not offended. I'm able to handle it. I may not like it. It may annoy me. Stepping in dog egesta. That annoys me. I'm not offended. I don't know what offended means. And what we're doing right now when it comes to Israel and Hamas, because it's not even Palestine, it's Israel and Hamas. And we're blending in all these other issues about occupation. Okay, that's interesting. Go ahead and ask. What I want to know is when it comes to war, one of my favorite issues, what is this about? What is the answer? And I'm telling you, I'm finding out right now that there may be no answer to this. This may be completely and totally intractable. Do you hear me? There may not be an answer to this. Now, this is something which confounds people, but imagine there not being an answer to this. That's why I'm a rationalist. I'm a realist. I look at the situation. I look at it like disease, like pathology, like cancer, like anything. Can we save the patient? Is it too far gone? Do we move on? Is that it? Not everything is soluble. Not everything is solvable. Not everything can be fixed. Not everything has an answer. And not everything is subject to this repeated circular nonsense. The same argument over and over. Everybody's so enthralled with this piece between Alan Dershowitz and Cornel West. I am so bored. So bored. I am done with this argument of, would you please denounce Hamas? Wait a minute. I'm talking about the occupation. They butchered children. It's the same argument. It's a terrible issue. Can we get to is that it? Are we just stuck there? Do you know why that argument works? Because it gets ratings. Because it gets clicks. Because that's the level of depth the American and apparently the world population wants. That's it. They just want to talk about very easy black and white. You're the bad guy. You butchered children and incinerated old people. And you won't decry that. You won't denounce that. That's pretty tantalizing when it comes to an issue. You don't even have to know anything to understand it. It's simple, low-hanging fruit. Any moron can understand that. What? Babies? Oh, and I love the hypocrisy. We love certain babies at certain times. That's true. Child trafficking? Well, whatever. Child exploitation? Well, in this country? Well, but in Africa or in China? Well, it's a different story. It's weird. People have asked the question all the time. Why aren't babies, in essence, not fungible but equal? Why is not a Palestinian baby the same as a Jewish baby or an Israeli baby or whatever you want to call it? Why? That's a good question. Why? And the answer is not that people don't think so. The media don't cover it the same. The media don't let you know because nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody's suggesting that Palestinian babies aren't the same. Most Americans don't know anything about it. Get to the bottom line. It's not about we hold certain death and tragedy differently. Americans don't know anything. They know about sports. They know a lot about that. They know about stupid TikTok stuff. Everybody's calling everybody bro. That they catch on. Bro, bruh, which is the diminutive of that. They're great on that. Fashion, style, mindless iterations of stupid phraseology. Oh, we're terrific. We can't find Gaza on a map. So the issue is not whether the United, and I can only speak for my country. I'm sorry if you're somewhere else. I'm not there. I know this place intimately. I've been studying this forever. I've been doing this professionally since the mid 80s. I know kind of what I'm talking about. So I can only talk about Americans, and they don't know anything. And the reason why, if you said, you know the kids that are killed in Gaza? What? Palestinian kids. What are you talking about? It's not that they don't care. They don't know. George Lenz says we have a morality problem or lack of. It's not that simple, but it's a good point. No, it's not that. No, it's not like that. We're going to talk about this. We're going to have a conversation. I hate that term. We're going to have a conversation. Whenever somebody has a conversation, it means it's going to be stupid, whatever it's going to be. So let me thank you right now. Let me give you the spiel. You've got to like this. It's very important that you like, because what I'm doing is different. You know why it's different? Because I know it's different. Because I only have this to talk about what I'm going to talk about, because I don't see anybody else talking about it. It's the same stuff over and over again. That's not, I want to go for really good stuff. I'm going to talk about issues that will piss people off. Those are the good issues. Those are the ones that are interesting. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Okay, subscribe to the channel. I thank you for that. I thank you, which is so important. And let me also tell you to remember our sponsors. First is My Patriot Supply. And right now there's a 25% off 3-month supply food kit order. 25%. I don't know how to make this any clearer to you. You should be overwhelmed. Your brain should be completely just saturated with the notion of food, water, energy. Food, water, energy. That's what they're talking about in Gaza. No food, no water, no energy. 7 checkpoints, 6 closed down. Rafah, the only one that's out. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be in occupation, but you would think that when people are talking about emergency, you would realize, what would we do if we had something, again, not occupation or whatever you want to call it, but what happens if there's just a terrible tornado, hurricane, earthquake, tsunami, cyclone, unrest, martial law, another COVID, another breakdown, who knows? Preparewithlionel.com. You are being talked to by some heavenly force that is saying, I'm giving you a hint. Preparewithlionel.com. Right now, save 25%. This is a starter kit off a 3-month emergency food kit. 25 years shelf life. 21 varieties. This is nothing you can do at home. This is nothing you can prepare at home. This is perfect. And another one, I got to tell you this right now, which is most important. They've written the death knell. And I'm sorry. This is not the way mypillow.com is great products, at Christmas. And I want to talk about this. Go to mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. See for yourself the deals, the specials. But there's something about it also, about his particular case, which just makes me so angry. They went after him because of what he thinks. They want to destroy his business because of what he thinks. I don't care what you think. This is America. You should be able to think and say whatever you want. And I shouldn't be able to go and tear your livelihood up because I think it's fun, that I think it's great. Another scalp on the wall, another Trump fan. I'm sorry. And maybe I don't think anybody's ever approved that. Don't hold my thoughts against the mypillow.com folks, but that's what I believe in, and I support them, and I want you to support them as well. Mypillow.com, but use promo code Lionel. Buy everything they have, promo code Lionel. Now let me ask you a question. What is the matter with us? What is the matter with us? Why, in the name of God, can't we talk about what really matters? Why do we have the same three people asking the same stupid questions? Let me go through this. Question number one. This is about Israel versus Hamas. Where is the Hamas leader? I had to look him up. Hamas. What is his name? Today they say, today they're beefing up control because they're saying the Hamas leader is calling for a day of jihad. What does that mean? Now, I know people say, no, you're using the term incorrectly. You're using the term incorrectly. No. Khaled Mashal, the leader of Hamas from 2004 to 2017. They say this all the time. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. That's not what jihad means. I know what I understand. They're not talking about, let's have a day of reconciliation. Whenever you hear this, whenever you're basically telling a bunch of morons out there, you're actively incinerating and inciting violence. What am I, stupid? I know what you're saying. Barry Taylor says, what we've got here is a failure to communicate. Cool handle. No, you know what? No. I appreciate that. But no, that's not it. We're communicating perfectly. Everybody knows what's going on. There's no, it's like, I don't understand what you want. Do you understand that this defies everything? Let me ask you a question. When Hamas says, and by the way, I don't know why everybody's so afraid. It's a terrorist organization. Does that bother you? I'm sorry. You do know we're not talking about the Palestinians. All right. We're talking about Hamas. You understand that, right? I mean, does this bother anybody? Is anybody have a problem with that? Call it what it is. This seems to bother people. I don't know why. Would you call Hamas a terrorist? Yeah, absolutely. And you can go through the international definition of what terrorism is and all that. Question number one. When Israel says, you better move south, better move, we're going to flatten this. This is the situation. Listen to my question. Answer my question. We'll talk about the right or wrong later on. If Israel says, you better get out, we're going to flatten this. I'm giving you a warning. And Hamas says, no, stay, don't move. Why do you think that is? Class, spend your time. Spend your time just answering this question. And I want you to ask people today, do yourself a favor. When you go out and you speak with folks, you're not going to be giving little snippets and little, I was watching somebody the other day. I never really spent time. I can't read everybody's comments because it throws you off. It's so difficult to try to do a broadcast and to keep track of everybody's comments. So I was watching somebody the other day and I couldn't believe what I was reading. And what I was saying, this is the best part. What I was saying, ready for this? What I was saying was, I've thrown up for a minute. I was watching the other comments, and it was the most inane stuff I've ever seen. It's like, what are they saying? It's just gibberish. Somebody's saying something, copy paste. I said, what is this? I'm not learning anything. I thought, oh my God, I hope our conversations don't look like this, our discussions. It was mindless. So I want you to go out today, and I want you to be an apostle. I want you to be an apostle of the truth. I want you to go out, and I want you to talk to people, and I want you to ask them a question. And the question I want you to ask me is very simply this. Ask me the question. Ask the question. Why do you think Hamas is doing this? Why? 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 Somebody writes, I'm tired of this conversation. It always goes in the circles with people making the same arguments. Yes. Answer my question. Thomas Lawson says Hamas wants dead bodies. Puff says optics. Got it. Dershowitz was talking about the CNN aspect. Hamas wants, this is the truth. You may not like this is true. Hamas says we want to go after, obviously, Israel. We want to win. We want to win the PR war. We want to create situations that are so untenable, so intractable, that Israel always looks like they're overreacting. That's our thing. We say, see, that's the message. See, that Israel's this boorish, hateful, or you got to say apartheid. Just like, bro, I've heard the word apartheid more. I mean, it's not a new reference. And there's a lot of people, by the way, people that you would think would not necessarily use this. It's not necessarily inflammatory in my mind. I do something, as I told you, I talk about things on my private channel that I do not talk. Let me tell you something. You had better really, really, really pay attention to what's going on in this world regarding, and I mean to say this, you better be careful what's going on in the real world regarding what you can and cannot say. You understand that? That's simple. And if you have not lived, if you have not been in a position where you have been burned, you haven't lived. On my private channel, I posted a thing and I talked about, and it was John Mearsheimer is, I think, one of the most brilliant minds when it comes to Ukraine and the like. And he has been very, very forthcoming. He is referring to the apartheid regarding the Palestinians. He has used this term. And he has been very, very, quote, controversial, which is always a good sign. And because if you're not controversial, that means you're not saying anything anybody either is thinking about. And he talks about something he and others have talked about. He and, who was it? It is he and Stephen Walt. They said, is there an Israel lobby? Is there an Israel or a Jewish lobby? Now, this is one thing where they're saying, wait a minute. You see what happens? Wait a minute. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Is there a gun lobby? Yes. Is there a big pharma lobby? Yes. Is there an LGBT? Yes. Is there a legal? Yes. And who do you think is responsible? Do you think the NRA plays a role or used to play a role? And yeah. Why is it? Why is it that we can't talk about that? I have no idea. So on my private channel, I go into detail. Look at what's happening. If you had to explain something, do you think, and by the way, when you say there's a lobby, it sounds like it's negative. Do you think there's a strong Israeli Jewish lobby? Yeah. With very powerful friends? Yes. And PR? Yes. Doesn't make it invalid. It's the truth. I don't understand it. We always talk about big pharma, big agri, big everything, big this, big that, media, but there's this, and I don't understand this. Because you have to understand, there has also been this third rail subject. And now we're going to have to start talking about this, but discussing it, not in a mean way, but reality. Let me give you an example. Let me just give you an example, okay? When a kid comes to you and says, would you please explain, let's say it's your son or daughter, would you please explain to me sex? Would you please come to me and explain this thing called sex? Would you please? I don't understand it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tell me. What are you going to say? You're going to be nice? You're going to say, well, I'm not going to. Or do you explain it? It's a simple question. Do you explain sex to your kids? Do you explain everything? Do you? Do you? See, this is called, I've changed, this is called Israel versus Hamas. This is what this is about. This is the story. This is what this is about. And I don't understand how I'm supposed to talk about it without being able to talk about it. I don't understand this. So when a kid asks you about sex, you say, well, let me explain this to you. And you've got to explain everything about sex, not just don't do it or wear a condom or no, you got to explain how things work, why you have sex, what's the basis, what are hormones, what's excitement, you explain it. And when you don't explain it, you're going to end up hurting your child because it's that ignorance part. It's like if you explain poison, why you shouldn't smoke, why you should exercise, you tell them the truth. When you don't tell people the truth, there's this weird thing. And since I can remember, especially when I first started in talk radio, really like 40, almost really 40 years ago, really 35, 40 years ago. Yeah. There was this thing where you just don't say anything. Say, why not? I pay homage to this. I think it's one of the most incredible stories in the world. 1948, Israel. 1949, China. Why can't we? You don't think there's a China lobby? We have no problem with China. We talk about China all the time. Not that they're in the same, but see, people always worry about this. Now there's this thing. I don't understand it. There have been anti-Semites, and there have been Zionists, and there have been combinations. Do you remember? Maybe you don't. Do you remember when the Passion of the Christ came? Remember, they said that Mel Gibson was anti-Semitic. Remember when he was stopped one time, he was loaded or something. He said, "What's your name?" You know, that kind of thing. And I remember thinking at the time when I saw the Passion of the Christ, I thought, wow. And for those of you who are not Christian or Catholic, you may not dig this, but I think he attributed like 3 seconds to the resurrection, and the whole show was the scourging of Christ. And by the way, what it was, the joke was it was Good Friday the 13th is what it was. It was a snuff film, some thought, but it showed me the Catholic perspective. And when Caiaphas versus Pontius Pilate, he blamed basically, the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees. It was basically, one could say, he's blaming the Jews for this. He's not even Pontius Pilate. Pilate did this. So people there's this, and I don't think but he might have a problem. You see, you can have a real problem with China. That's okay. Hell, you watch Maria Bartiromo. Oh, she talks about China. I was telling folks, this anti-TikTok stuff is getting kind of weird here because I don't think you're talking about TikTok. I think you're talking about China. I think you're talking weird about it. I think your anti-China stuff, the way you're talking about this is really, it's kind of getting out of hand. It's getting a little bit too loud. There's something weird going on here. And I could hear it. It wasn't just about China. It was something about the Chinese. Okay. So understand it. Embrace it. When you start talking about either Hamas, well, sometimes you can talk about Hamas, but then it kind of blends in. It depends. By the way, whatever you tell people isn't what they hear. When you talk about people being animals and savages, you got to be very careful. Because you can say, what? You don't think people who butcher children are savages? Yes. But that's not what they hear. Now, I promise you, what I just suggested right now, you ain't going to hear that on Fox News because they wanted this. And boy, they played into it, wasn't it? Dershowitz and Cornell West. It was beautiful. Sean Hannity. Oh, we're going to go to Harvard, okay? We're going to take this there. Oh, please spare me. That's the most boring conversation. I know what you're going to say. I know. Dershowitz made a good point. Nobody wants to acknowledge it. Why? Because this is war. War doesn't make any sense. How do you explain? It's like trying to explain schizophrenia. How do I explain it? I can explain it, but it doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. It's by definition crazy, but I can explain it. This is the most incredible thing. This is something that is just. And if you can't put yourself in the position, if you cannot put yourself in the position of being able in the middle and say, I can see the good part, I can see what you see and you say, and I on both sides. I can understand both sides. Imagine being in Gaza. Imagine what that's like. Imagine being raised. Imagine your culture. Imagine what you think. Imagine what you say. You are who you are born to. You're born a Yankees fan. You're born in the Northeast. You're probably going to be Christian. Depending upon your neighborhood, you might be Catholic. You were born to a Jewish family or not. Or maybe you're born Japanese. When you're Japanese, you just do certain things. And you have certain outlook. And you just gravitate certain ways, and you have cultural things, and that's the way it is. And that's the way you're born. You're born like that. You were born like that, and there's not a damn thing anybody can do to change it. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's everything. It's genetics to an extent, but it's also culture. It's a lot of stuff. You understand? You dig? Capiche? You got it? And let me tell you something. If you don't understand how people in certain parts of the Middle East can't stand Israel and how Israel can't stand them, if you don't understand this, there's no hope for you. There's just no hope for you. Is it possible for you to listen to this and not make any judgments? Is it possible? Is it possible if you just look and say, I understand this. I understand this. I don't want to compare it to cancers or animal behavior, because I'm not saying these people are animals, but just like you would say, yep, I understand it. Yep, you got termites here. Yep, it's going to rain. Yep, that's a cold, all right. No, you have a cold. That's a cold. Yep, look at the x-ray. Yep, that's broken. You know how you just do this? You just, why is this so difficult? Look at that. There's our man, Sparky. Hello, Lionel, Mrs. L. Look at you. Look at you, Sparky. God bless you. Why can't we do that? Why? These are things I just want people to kind of know. I just want people, why can't you argue this? Why can't you just tell me, why can't people just say, you know what? I don't understand it. I don't understand this. Do you want to talk about the history of Gaza? Go ahead. What good is that going to do you? I don't know. How do you have 2.5 million people jammed in this little place? What is this? Here's the situation, whether you like it or not. In this little place, you've got Hamas, and they've got all kinds of tunnels, and they've got rockets, and they're telling these people, hey, don't move, stay there. You know what that's about, huh? See, that would be right off the bat. If I was a Gazan, I would say, hey, wait a minute, hold it. What are you doing? Stay there? You want us to stay there? What? This is bizarre. You're out of your mind. Stay there? Not going to stay there. Okay, you got it? You see how that works? That's exactly what's going on. Okay, so they're right there. So you're going to be in charge of my defense. I'm going to say, here's the problem. You got Hamas right there, and they know it. They say, listen, we're going to go into neighborhoods, and we're going to go into houses and basements and roofs, and we're going to go to hospitals, and we're going to use these people as human shields, while at the same time saying how much we, respect human life, but we're going to use our own people. Our own people. We're going to use it. And if you don't like that fact, you're not paying attention. This is what's been going on since day one. Yeah, but the occupation, the hell of the occupation. I'm talking about Hamas. This is what they do. West Bank's different. Palestinian Authority is different. Not perfect, but different. And by the way, they don't get along. We got a problem with that. So how do you deal with that? So Cornel West, let me ask you a question. Question number one. And it's nice that at least it was an attempt at a dialogue, even though it was for theatrics and the like. What are you supposed to do? I'd love to get somebody from Hamas to sit down and say, why do you do this? You know you do this. We know you do this. It's not that we just happen to be. No, you don't happen to be there. you know exactly what's going on. And there's certain things I can't control. For example, they have every now and then somebody will say things like propaganda. There's that clip going around of Hannity says, "Let me show you something right now. This is the propaganda." I can't help propaganda. Propaganda. I'm sorry, I can't. Speech is a weird thing. But let me talk about this. Question number one: why do you hide among them? You know what you're doing, right? This is so rotten. There are these, and by the way, the funniest thing too is this: the rules of war, the laws of war. Oh, for the love of God, the laws of war, the laws, the law and order of war. War is by definition nuts. Prisoners of war, you can't do this, you can't change uniforms, you can't they have I love this. Everything that I would do if I was in a war, you can't do. Because that's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. So you want to talk about this? Let's talk about it. So what have we talked about? What's going on here? And by the way, I love, and I got to tell you something. It's one of the greatest things ever. And let's talk about this. What the Jews have been able to do, Israelis, I should say, Jewish people, because it's a Zionist state, what they've been able to start in Israel in 48 is nothing but amazing. With a lot of help, you betcha, but on their own. They represent, let me explain something to you. Right now we're talking about global Jewish population, 15.7 million. 15.7. And Israel is about 7 million. How about that? Think about that. That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, Muslim population in the world, 1.8 billion. Just stop for a second. Just stop. Just dig this for a moment. Forget what you think. 17 million. 7, 8, 1.8, 2 billion? Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah. When you look at the numbers, it's incredible. It's incredible. And you know what? There's a lot of people who don't say, they say, well, it's a different story. They had help. Excuse me? Well, they had help. They had help. That's a lot of help. Okay, fine. You don't think other folks have some help they might have coming? You don't think that somebody might want to replicate this? Do you think there's something to what? To Israeli ingenuity that's only possible? I don't understand. See, nobody wants to talk about that. Like, why? Huh? It's like nobody ever wants to talk about civilizations that some evolved in, like European. Oh my God. And then it's the others that are still rather primitive. Oh God, don't talk about that. Why? Oh, because you sound racist. Racist, I'm pointing out the truth. See, the truth is what gets you in trouble. Sparky says, I love the way you quote Brian Berletic. Thank you for this. It's like Brian Berletic of the New Atlantic points out, if Hamas cared about Palestinians, they would show up to stop Israeli bulldozers from destroying individual Palestinian houses. Instead, Hamas does October 7th, which is true. By the way, do me a favor, Sparky. Make sure you go to Brian Berletic's show and tell him what we talk about on Lionel. Just do me a favor if you could. I appreciate that. Now, with all due respect, and this is great, I really appreciate this, but this is called no shite obviousness. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it's like, yes, I knew this. It's not about we care about Palestinians. See, that's something that, and it's a good point, but that is so simple. It's like, it's so obvious. It's so front level, front tiered. It's obvious. So yeah, I understand. I want to go a little bit different though. I'm going to go a little bit into this. Where is the difference in why is the information? And by the way, it's a good point. Why is this? I mean, and that has only been said on Fox News a couple of million times, and it's not exactly novel, and it's great, and that's wonderful. But it's like, yeah, we know this. So, what is it? Do we just not understand war? I don't understand. What are we talking about here? And what do you think the answer to this is? Let me say this for you. There's no answer. The only answer is when somebody stops or is stopped. There's no nothing. I think MBS could do a lot. Turkey, Jordan, by the way, they're in charge of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They can do some stuff. And the people are just kind of posturing. And there's a lot of, these officials. I think India gave a statement. Putin made a statement. That's nice. What do these statements mean? I don't know. But let's talk about this. How is this ended right now? Let me see this. Dr. West, I just love this idea. Let's say he's, or whoever. How is this ended? How is this ended? Do you think, let me ask you this. If I said, let me rephrase this. Is there a condition where Hamas would say, we're going the other direction? We're don't worry about us. We're heading in the other direction. Anybody? Is there anything that would make Hamas fold up their tent, go home, say you've won? Anything? Anything. Would anything help? That's the first question. Sparky says, unlike Christianity and Islam, Judaism isn't evangelical, limiting their numbers. Plus, it's difficult to convert to Judaism. Yeah. But also, there may be something in terms of just numbers. Sometimes the numbers, and that's interesting, we're not talking about explicating the limited number. Sometimes the number is fast. For example, you don't really understand North Korea, unless you understand how many soldiers, how much military they have pursuant to their little size. They have basically the same amount of soldiers, military, as we do. It's another story. Now, does that mean they're more pugnacious, more bellicose? It's easier to get into the military? No. Sometimes it's just the number itself. The point of this is we are talking about, look at what happened, what Israel did since 1948. Granted, a lot of great friends, no powerful people, and the banking, the entertainment. I love all that one. Entertainment has basically turned their back on them. They own everything, and then, okay, fine. That notwithstanding, do you not marvel at the absolute brilliance, and this perseveration of wanting to live in this place that is, it's holy, I understand, but there's nothing there. You're surrounded by enemies who not wish you harm, want you eliminated. We, even at the height of the Vietnam War, we did not necessarily want to eliminate all of Vietnam. At the height of the Troubles, I don't think Northern Ireland wanted to eliminate each side. This is existential. Grasp the notion. Forget people who don't recognize Israel. Forget that. That's mild. Other people want, from the river to the sea, they want it eliminated. So excuse me, sometimes you've got to understand, did you hear what that general said? What? He referred to us as animals or whatever. Well, that's terrible. Well, what about Hamas? Well, that's different. Wait a minute. This rhetoric is like, there's also something, and please don't take this the wrong way. There's something about the culture of the anger, the way people speak. Listen to the way it's like, we can't relate to it. So the question that I have is going back. Is there anything that will make Hamas say, okay, we're done. We're done. We're through. We're happy. We're satisfied. Conditions met. Thank you. Anything? No. What do they want? If Israel said, theoretically, okay, here, you name it. Here's a list. Here's a pen. Write it down. We'll do it. Out of the settlements. You want to give something back? Well, we're not going to give Israel back, but okay, whatever it is. Out of Gaza? We already did. We were out of Gaza. We gave you Gaza. And what did you do? You put, well, okay, all right, okay. Open up the checkpoint. Okay, just so Gaza can be in, forget an open air. Now they're calling it open air prison, open air concentration camp. It'll be an open air weapons. Go ahead, Hamas, and basically build a military base so you can attack us because you're in Israel. Okay, we'll do that. We'll sign off on that. Yeah, okay. Anything else? We'll do whatever you want. We're not going to leave, but close up the, get rid of this, get back to Jerusalem, whatever yeah. Now, if does that condition exist? Does Hamas say, you know what? That's it. Folks, business accomplished. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Have a great day. Hell no. Money. Arms sale. Billions of dollars. You're not going to know. This isn't some social movement. Barry says, before moving into my homeland territory, isn't it prudent to discuss this first? Might be a little moot at this point. Might be moot. And see, and another thing too is, and you cannot explain this. When somebody says, and they're absolutely correct regarding this, most Americans have absolutely no idea of what Palestinians have been saying. It's almost like, yeah, quit bitching and moaning. Look, you had your chance and you live in this hellhole and you had the chance to do it, but you didn't do it. So don't quit bitching. That's this attitude. It's this weird thing that people have, this strange attitude of, yeah, well, whatever. No. It doesn't work like that. They make a tremendous point. There have been people who've been killed, and they ask the questions, why is it that you won't address our deaths, our children, and it's a great point. How can you miss the point? And you know what you do? Concede, say, you're right. Guess what? You just deflated the argument, and now you move to the next one. Sparky says, Lionel, if it's not my original thought, I try to give the credit. You said that particular thought, it was obvious. Then why do people synonymously use Hamas and Palestinians? Synonymously use. Because they don't know. Like they'll use the word Jews and Israelis and that sort of thing. It's one of those. But by the way, I appreciate other people's thoughts, but I guess sometimes there's something about, how do I say this? Maybe it's a territorial thing. I don't know how it is, but there's something about, how do I say this? And I appreciate what you're saying. It's almost like, so what? I like to bring people up. I like to only cite people when they say something stupid or when they say something redundant or something obvious. But I'm waiting to hear, have I heard anything brilliant? No. Has anybody said anything where I thought, I never thought about that? No. Absolutely not. By the way, Mearsheimer might be better because if somebody knows a little bit about history, that's kind of interesting. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't understand this. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, fine. That works like that. But when somebody's, no. And there's also something about, when you're doing somebody's show, I promise you, if you go on somebody's show and you say, there's that Lionel guy, he does his show, Lionel, I think they would say, well, thank you very much. No, you want to, you know what I mean? It's nice, but it's almost like, it's like if you're in a movie theater and you say, this is a good movie, but there's another movie that tackles this subject. It's in the other thing. You might want to go check that one out. That's all. I'm just saying, just like the protocol of shows like this and, that sort of thing. Sometimes, like I think I don't want to spend a lot of time mentioning other names, but I do hear some, and there's the most I've ever seen in my life. They're the most redundant. I don't want to, I bring something up maybe to highlight the point as opposed to highlighting what an individual has to say. There are very few really brilliant. I mean, seriously brilliant. And I'm telling you, when I say that, I know that sounds weird. They might be brilliant people, but the perspectives. Let me ask you something. Have any of you ever heard anything? Ever anything? Ever anything? By the way, somebody said there's 72 virgins. You do know that most of the time, a lot of Muslims have said, I don't know what the hell that 72 virgin thing is. That's your thing. You brought that up. How about this? Have you heard people argue about the authenticity of the particular documentation of the children who were slaughtered? Have you heard that one? Have you heard that one? I was watching some great Australian, and I just watch all this stuff. And sure enough, they bring somebody from a Palestinian authority, some Palestinian spokesman. They bring them on, and they say, why can't you decry the horror and the savagery that was visited upon children? And they do. It's the same argument. So here's what's going to happen. Question number one. What is going to happen when Israel moves in en masse, 300,000 to 500,000 people moving in swaths, in torrents, in waves, in Gaza? What do you think is going to happen? Let's talk about that. What do you think is going to happen? Is that a good idea? Here's a question. What is this accomplishing militarily? Anything? Do you think you're going to wipe out? You think Hamas is going to go away with this? Is that what you think? Do you think that? Do you think that? I don't know. What is going to be accomplished from that? It's a great, great question. What is going to be accomplished? I ask, what is strategically going to be accomplished by virtue of you doing this? That's the thing I want to know more than anything else. George Lennon says, Egypt has closed the Rafah crossing, preventing residents from Gaza to leave. Looks as though these inhabitants are between a rock and a hard place. Between the Scylla and Charybdis. And, you might want to say, well, why would anybody do that? What that? I don't understand that one. Egypt, hello. What are you doing? Well, and I don't understand this. I don't understand. You say, wait a minute, you represent the only escape, especially as they're moving south. What is that all about? Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to you? We need somebody talking on a stage and say, Egypt, what do you say? Anybody? Hey, Israel, what about you? Let me ask you a question. This is important. What are you going to do? This is critical. What are you going to do regarding, and this is important, the folks who are involved in this horror presentation in Hamas, in Gaza? But what are you going to do after you've leveled it and Hamas says, now we're over here? And now you've just emboldened us. What did you do? You leveled it. Here's the question I have, and it's a very simple one. Do you think operationally you're going to eliminate Hamas? It's going to be gone by basically taking out innocent, people who live there and who live adjacent to. This is the one I don't understand. Somebody explain that to me? I understand this is war. I understand if Hamas was a city and Hamas was a government, and instead of Gaza, it was called Hamas City, and everybody said, yeah, we're going to do this, and they were, okay, fine. But I don't understand this because we're in this new world of terrorism where they aren't necessarily a force. They are a terrorist aspect that basically they've kind of inhabited. I always think it's like the way the woke folks kind of inhabited and parasitized the Democratic Party. Hamas said they were elected and now they're acting on behalf of Gaza. And I don't think for a moment that Gazan residents said, wasn't it great that Hamas really has our best interests at heart? Huh? Even the Palestinian Authority. Nobody even wants to come out and say this. Imagine what there's nobody who can actually say this Hamas is doing a terrific job. They're really getting the point across. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Sparky says, I understand that in the business, the person might be reticent to mention a perceived competitor. yet you've promoted establishment shows like Crystal Ball. Yeah, okay. Again, I like to say that there are these people out there who try different things. I've mentioned a lot of folks, MSNBC, Mearsheimer, I just mentioned, but I don't want to sit and just quote them. I don't want to say, well, Crystal Ball said that so-and-so. And Sagar said so-and-so. Sagar said, Crystal Ball the other day, I think it was Crystal Ball when I watched it. She said that, what does that mean? No, as opposed to, you're not going to believe this nonsense. Or I see how other people are talking about this. I always like to do a media analysis. What are people saying? What are people talking about? And by the way, I did see your program the other day that you mentioned, and it was good, but it was kind of like no shite obviousness. It was like, okay. Again, the issue that I want to know is strategically, other than relitigating the obvious, here's my question. What does Hamas have for the end game? Why isn't anybody calling them into play and asking them specifically, what is it that you seek to accomplish? They know you did this. What was your purpose? What have you accomplished? Where is the entire Muslim world? Palestinian Authority in Egypt and Bahrain, everybody, the Emirates and Saudi Arabia and Turkey, are they calling? Forget everybody else, picking up the phone and asking Hamas, what were you thinking? What was the purpose of this? You knew this. What? We're trying here. Ankara's trying to help. Riyadh's trying to help. Everybody's trying to do something to work things out, and you come along. Why have they been systematically left out of the argument? Why is this about Israel and the United States and Tony Blinken? And why has this Hamas? What are they, ninjas? Are they just invisible? They don't really. What are they? How do you explain this? How do you explain this? That's the part I don't understand. That's the first question. Irrespective of, thank you, Dershowitz, thank you, Cornel West. That's nice. That's fine. Here's my main question. Where are people talking about Hamas? You did this. This took over, 2 years to do this? People, and please don't ask anymore about why was the greatest intelligence organization caught off guard? I don't know. We've been through this a million times. Well, I think it might have been an inside. Okay, we get that out of the way. But the number one question, more importantly, is who is this? You have just created basically World War III. You did. And you're not even on the list of, we're talking about everybody but you. I don't understand them. Oh, we're talking about Harvard. That was fun, wasn't it? It was good for a day. Bill Ackman, hey, guess what? He shut what's your name? Gay, the president of Harvard. She's gone. Oh, okay. Larry Summers. Yeah. That was fun. Now let's get back to the real subject here. What's going on with this thing? Now, if any other group, if anybody else, I have promoted and shared Lionel Nation for these 8 years. Don't feel left out. I don't feel left out at all. Let's talk about us. Thank you, Sparky. I appreciate this. But Sparky, answer my question here. Where is Hamas in this? Let's focus on the here and now. Where is Hamas in this? I don't understand. That's my number one question. I'm tired of the usual stuff. Where is it? Who runs it? Who's in charge? Who advocates this? Not Palestine, not the Palestinian Authority, not the people of Gaza. No. That's easy. I stand with the people of Palestine. Okay. Rashida Tlaib, worthless. She's gone. I understand it. She's got a Palestinian flag. That's groovy. No problem. Let's talk about Hamas. Who is behind it? Who says I'm with them 100%? Anybody? Where's their money come from? Who supports that? How did they get this money? There was something in the Washington Times or Insider that showed that Joe Biden actually, by virtue of some of his stuff, was sending or money was getting to Hamas. That's the question I have. Everything else is whatever it is. But people want to talk about it. They want to talk about Zionism and they want to talk about, yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. That's terrific. It bores me. The real issue right now is between one thing. This is all about Hamas. Period. That's it. What Israel was doing, bad, right? You want to say that? Bad. Okay. Bad. Apartheid, bad. Bad. It's been going on for years, but bad. It was there. Doesn't mean it doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean it can't be fixed. Doesn't mean that most people didn't even know anything about Gaza, never heard about it. Hamas might be saying, see, no, this is not it. If the entire world said right now, if I went to MBS and all of the five families, so to speak, of the Muslim world and said, listen, you know who these people are, right? You know who they are. Yeah. I think it's time that we do something about it. Do you think they could eliminate this immediately? If they wanted to, could MBS or whatever pick up the phone with the Erdogan and others, pick up the phone and say, here's what we want you to do. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to stop now. You got that? Now. And dismantle, go away. Don't want to hear from you for a year. Go away. Stop this. I'm the hero. They're gone. They're done. Everybody stop. Okay, Israel, they're gone. They're done. There's no more Hamas here. And by the way, anybody who breaks this ceasefire, anybody who violates me, you'll have hell to pay. They can do that, yeah, but they don't. So why is that? You got to ask the question. They could stop this. They can stop it immediately, anytime, like that. Keep the others, keep the Hezbollah, keep all this. That's fine. But Hamas, no. No, that still stays there. Why is that? Why is that? Because just like it has been posited that Israel created this to create almost like a counterbalance, believe it or not, it helps other quote, more rational folks, if you will, to seem rational in the light. George Len says, the president's line from Clear and Present Danger, I think they should just go away. Yeah, that's good, I think. Raul says, Hamas appears to be a hologram. I don't know what that means, but we don't know enough about them. See, that's my, by the way, thank you. That's my focus. That's my focus. That's the thing I want. Everything else is like, yeah, it's interesting, but those are the people. What are we talking about? Well, do you think those pictures were authenticated? Forget the pictures. Forget this. The people in the paragliders, who was that? The people who came in through the bulldozers, and who's that? The people who took 2 years to who are these people? The people who did shoot others. Who are those people? Who are these people? Are we making this up? Do we imagine them? Who were these people? It's called Hamas. We know everybody's name but them. Anybody. Sparky says Palestinian side points out Israeli atrocities and Israel beats war drums, but neither point out Hamas is controlled by the U.S. and funded by U.S. money laundered via Qatar. Well, that may be, and that's an excellent point. And I think, Sparky, it is absolutely critical for us to bring that up. And I think if people did know this, because in fact, it was, I think I just mentioned, either Washington Insider or Washington Times or something said that this quote, Palestinian money, it goes exactly to how about the money? What about this, Sparky? How about the guns? How about the fact that they are using black market stuff that's being sent to Ukraine? Did you also hear who was it? Kirby, who said, by the way, we're going to be wrapping up this Ukraine thing. Did you hear that? Zelensky said, what? Yeah, we're going to be wrapping this thing up. Now that was kind of like a side note. That was a side note. And I'm supposed to also give a damn about whether Steve Scalise is in the offing for the speaker. Did you hear that one? Who cares? You know what? Shut it down. It doesn't. It's better if Congress doesn't do anything. I know that sounds rather trite, but the point that Sparky says is great. Why don't we sit down? We need to have people say, here is the story. Cornel West, or whoever your favorite one is, John Dingleberry, or whoever these people. This is what's going on here. Shall we talk about this? Well, we don't have that. No, but I wanna rip. So-and-so ripped. I want to rip Hamas. So this is the first issue. The first issue, the only issue, the only issue. We've known about this before. We've known about this before. But if, and I'm sure we could talk about Israeli atrocities and IDF atrocities. You know what? Let's do it. Everything's on the table. Nothing's off the table. But when Hamas says we spent 2 years preparing for this and they fly in paragliders as these innocent kids are at a rave and you can see them. And the next thing you know, there's, excuse me, let's talk about that. Who's Hamas? Who are they? How do you explain that? And let me ask you this question. If they are there, see, I don't even know how operational Hamas is. I'm not an expert on this. Do they have their infrastructure, their information system? Is this their operational center? I don't know. But either way, do you recognize the, I think, the far-fetched nature of how I'm supposed to believe that if you level Gaza, Hamas will go away? Do we not have a list, of all the folks in Hamas? May I ask something? And Sparky, you can help me with this, and others. And do we not, we tend to target certain people? They, us, why don't we start targeting individual people if that's what you want, rather than leveling cities? Everybody used to say, we got this guy, you got Casey Kasem Salami, whatever, this guy over here, you got Zarqawi here, you've got you've got the second in command. Remember, we always had the second in command of ISIS. With a Hellfire missile, we got rid of the second in command. Why does somebody surgically target these people rather than slaughter the innocent? Is that out of the question? One of your better games today, L, 3 to 4 wins, 3 to 4 wins, 3 RBIs. Thank you. I like that. That's my question. Stupid question, right? Stupid question. Do you mean to tell me that somebody can say, oh, by the way, Sparky says, U.S. has long practice, let's you and them fight foreign policy. That's called tertius gaudens. Absolutely. That's a game theory. John McGuire couldn't get higher says, H's stated goal from day one is the destruction of their leader Ismail Haniyeh says the same. Oh, yeah, Israel, yes. I tend to think they don't negotiate with them because they have no desire to negotiate. Well, John, I agree with you. Here's my question. Again, if somebody says, we're going to put the word out to our split. This is very simplistic. I'm just a regular guy. Just a regular guy. And I put the words, let's say his name is Sheikh whatever, Hamada, and that's the guy, and we want to get him. Okay? We want to get him. Okay. And anybody who is able to assist in that will be compensated handsomely, or we'll work something out. Tell me where he is. Tell us where he is. Let's don't take out a block of Gaza. Let's don't do it. Let's find out, where is he now? I'm just saying, they've done it before. Why is that out of the question? I've never understood why innocent civilians, if your beef is with Ho Chi Minh, maybe he was hard to find. Something tells me he wasn't, but whatever it is. They have these rules. Well, we can't. Who was it? We had that executive order that provided for the targeted special targeted assassination. I think they repealed it or something. I never understood that. It's like, wait a minute. War is obscene. Individuals are obscene. I don't know what carpet bombing Vietnam had to do when your beef was with this guy. What happens to an organization? Why do you think the mob went after John Gotti, theoretically? What is RICO statutes about? You go after the head, versus the tail. I don't understand this. Please tell me. You mean to tell me that this guy is so elusive, nobody knows where he is? Nobody can give him up? Nobody can say, I can't tell you where, but he's in this. Okay. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen? Remember one time there was a story. I'll never forget this. I think it was in the Jarablus corridor. And there were a bunch of, it was Al Qaeda. Forgive me. There was remember Al Qaeda, AI, or IS, ISIS. Anyway, they were coming down the Jarablus corridor, I think coming through from Turkey or what. Russia, Putin, Syria got a hold of this and just took this caravan out. The white trucks, with the flags. And once that caravan was hit, you saw this. Here are the keys. Let me take off my hat. Here you go. Here's the flag. I'm done with this. I'm blowing this pop stand. Not interested. Thank you. And that was the end of that. Just saying. John McGuire couldn't get higher says, in terms of targeted strikes, and again, remember, I'm saying this as a citizen and who has seen this done before. But John says, in terms of targeted strikes, Hamas is the most powerful gang in that hood. As a former prosecutor, you know how difficult getting people to snitch is in a bad hood in America. It's 10 times harder there. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Easier said than done, especially when you have other offers and especially when you have members of not only you're asked to give up, let's say, a Crip, but you have the Bloods, MS-13, and all of the cartels encouraging you to do so. Let's go back to square one. If MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, said, that's it, I'm tired of this, I'm done, I'm through, it'd be over. Agree? If they can stop, if it's almost like malpractice. A doctor, why didn't you seek this treatment? I don't know. You could have stopped. I could have stopped. Well, what are you doing? I don't know. So we're going to continue today with the same story. Let me ask you, let's assume we're programming, and I want you to give me the usual boring Gaza programming. What are we going to have? Number one, we got to have somebody from some Palestinian group who refuses to acknowledge Hamas as a terrorist organization. That's going to be segment one. That's in the A block. The host will get somebody like a Piers Morgan or somebody TL. What do you mean? Okay, we get that one. Then, number two, we'll talk about, it depends upon the perspective. There are other countries who make no bones about it. They don't even discuss this. They talk about Palestinian settlements and occupation. I'm saying, excuse me. What about this? Insidious says, back from vacation, looks like the world is still imploding. Time to stock up on jerky and banana chips. And more importantly, you got to stock up on My Patriot Supply. Save 25% off a 3-month emergency food kit. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. This isn't a joke. I'm dead serious. Because we are so fragile, because we are not used to this. Can you imagine let me just ask you something. Can you imagine what it would look like in this country, what we would do if all of a sudden we had no electricity, no sewer, no water, no, what would we do? They were trying to run cooking oil for gasoline, it's just it's incomprehensible. Can you imagine us? We go crazy. We riot if there's no internet, or we go crazy on planes. Do you know the resolve of these people? Do you know what this is like? Do you know the terror they're going through? To be a little kid and to see this and to see your parents freaked out in a zone like, what is what is this? And the next generation? See, nobody wants to talk about that. Good, bad, or indifferent, and who's right and who's wrong. And you're not going to be able to tell a little kid in Gaza, honey, you got to understand something. See Hamas attack. Oh, okay, Mom, I got it. Forget I said this. No, it doesn't work like that. Because if I was in Gaza, what I'd be saying is, what does this have to do with me? I didn't do this. I didn't sign off on this. Leave me alone. How do you answer that question? How do you answer that? And the question is not, well, you under the rules of engagement. Nobody's questioning that. I'm not saying you have the right. I'm not doing that. But what do you do? See, this is the issue. And who's responsible for this? Hamas. They did this. Let me ask you a question. It's very simple. If we went into Gaza and said, let me ask you incredibly important people a question. This was bad. Is it worse now, or was it better on October the 5th, or the 6th, rather, the day before this happened? So things are worse now. And why are they worse now? Because of what? Because of a certain event. And who was responsible for that? Good. Now, you might say, well, that's morally unequivocal. It might be. That doesn't excuse anything. It doesn't excuse. It doesn't say. I'm telling you, it's the truth. It's the truth. So we can talk about all this. You can have all the guests you want. Have Cornel West. You can have on, whoever this, Mehdi Hassan or whatever. Anybody. You can go to Democracy Now. You can talk about anybody. It's okay. Interesting. Very interesting. But the question is simply this. If I do something and I goad you, see, this is what Putin said. He said to basically the world and to NATO, I'm telling you, if you, or no, let me rephrase it. I'm not going to have a NATO occupied country on my border. I'm telling you that. And if you do, that's my red line. So what did NATO do? That. Whose fault is it? Who? John McGuire says, could this be a play where the rest of the Middle East is letting whatever get rid of crazy Hamas? They go overboard in doing so and leaves the rest of the Middle East in a stronger political position. That is, put it this way. If that is the theory or the hypothesis, it is so fraught with potential disaster, it's not worth the risk. Barry Taylor says, despite the complexities, this is infantile behavior. There is plenty of land available around the world for people to coexist. Barry, I love you, man. This is not about land. This is not about, well, Montana's got, okay. It's not about, timeshare or, no. It's there. This is something Americans don't understand. This is something we don't understand. We kind of understood it, sort of, in the Civil War. From what we think we remember, from what we think we know, we kind of, sort of, maybe remember this in the Civil War. This is different. But this is not about just land. It's about alleged mistreatment. It's about it is so complex. It's a Gordian knot is what it is. So my friends, I thank you. Thank you. You have been incredible. Barry Taylor, thank you. John McGuire couldn't get higher. Thank you. Insidious, thank you. Sparky, let me make sure you understand something. Your comments, your study, your perspective is most appreciated. And I want to thank you for that. George Lenz, thank you. Who else is here? Raul Rodriguez, thank you, Raul. And let me see. Let me go up here a little bit more. There we go. Oh, Barry Tanner. I think I said Barry Tanner. Yep. And that's it. Don't forget, my friends, My Patriot Supply, and I can't say this enough, save 25% off a 3-month emergency food kit. Order right now. And our great friends at, I think I just said that. I did say that. I meant to say, wait a minute. There we go. I meant to say this one. There we go. My Pillow. That's right. MyPillow.com. Promo code Lionel. Great people, wonderful people, great products. And Christmas is just around the corner. Isn't that weird to say that? Which is true. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious and a wonderful day. Thank you for your genius. Thank you for your perspective. Remember, keep thinking and also go out and be apostles of truth. Ask your friends the questions they need to know. All right, dear friends, see you tonight. Same bat time, same bat channel at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Dead.